Hey, JJ Hammond here with STLTechTalk. I'm here with Muljadi, if I said that right.
Yes, close enough.
Close enough.
Hi, JJ.
Right. Hi.
Good morning.
And we're going to be discussing you and your session and what you were, presenting on. But first, let's talk a little bit about what got you into technology.
Surprisingly, the thing that got me into technology and computers to begin with in the first place are games.
Games?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember my sister bringing back home a IBM PC XT, kind of dating myself a little bit here, and I would wait for her to finish using it so I can play Tapper on a monochrome green screen.
Nice. I like it. I was Oregon Trail all the way.
Ah, okay. But overall, it kind of hooked me into it. She was a computer science graduate.
Oh, wow.
I then kind of taken a look into some of her books. Actually learned line numbered basic way back. And the whole thing just kind of made sense. So kind of pursued that, got a computer engineering degree, and here I am, basically doing software development.
Do you think that having that kind of background, like someone ahead of you, like your sister, or having that kind of interest, like a resource, right, was a definite advantage when you were pursuing this as a possible career?
Actually, no, because I was playing the games more, first and foremost, and it just got me thinking in terms of, well, you know what, this is all pretty cool. Can I do something like this?
Okay.
And it just so happens that she has the basic line numbered book.
Okay.
And I actually read it, spoke to her, did not talk to her about it. And after a while, it's, hey, this all made sense and I can do this. And back then, it's very, very easy to try to reproduce any examples that you find. And also just kind of try to, well, back then, if you boot a PC with nothing on it, well, no DOS, you basically go into this cassette basic, and you can basically just go from there.
Going right at it. Do you think there's a little bit of a barrier to entry now because there's so many different ways you can do one thing?
You can kind of spin it both ways to some extent. You can say that, well, because there are a lot more technologies, it's hard for a single person to know anything and everything. But on the other hand, because there are so many technologies, anybody that wants to get in can just say, you know what, I'm going to try to focus on this, get in, learn about it, and most probably they would be able to be productive in whatever chosen subject or field that they use.
Yeah, because a lot of questions we got from our yesterday interviews was, people wanting to get into further in depth or learn more about it, and it's all there's just kind of so much. You got your different languages, you got your different compilers, you got your different systems. People want to be specific to an ecosystem, whatever the case may be. Is so you're just saying, would you agree that just to pick something and do it and learn it, and then you can start branching off?
You have to start somewhere,
right.
And at that point, whichever one you start. Obviously, a lot of people line numbered basic is not where you want to start.
Right.
But otherwise, just choose one and go with it.
Even if, games.
Definitely.
Something like that. So then after that, what was your higher education like? Did you attend a university or just self-taught?
I went to University of Arizona, Tucson.
Okay.
Go Tucson. Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
And went there for a computer engineering degree. I like the whole software and hardware aspect of it. I still follow hardware developments even now.
Okay.
The only thing is that I find that developing the software is much cheaper in the long run because you just need a computer, a compiler back then, and it just works.
Right.
Whereas if you wanted to make any type of chip, you basically have to buy an EEPROM or an FPGA, programmable FPGA, and things like that. And given a college student's budget,
it's kind of like a whole other thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to kind of go all in or not.
Right.
And finally, after I graduated, I decided, well, you know what? Let me try to do more software first. Got a job here in St. Louis, and I've been staying here since then.
Wow, so you've been here since?
Yes.
Wow.
Since I graduated.
Where have you been?
So I started with a company called MyTech Industries. It's an architectural engineering company here in Chesterfield. And then
a big architectural community in the St. Louis area. Well, I should say interior architecture there, and I know a lot of a couple of companies.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a lot for here. But go ahead.
Definitely. And I actually worked there for a little bit over 13 years. And during the way, I actually had a 1 year stint at Cisco, 1 year, a few months stint at Anheuser-Busch, and currently I'm working for Radiologica. It's a medical software company here based in St. Louis, and they are a startup. I started working with them close to 2 years ago.
Great.
We are about 10 people strong right now.
Wow. Do you like that smaller atmosphere?
It's actually pretty interesting, and I do like it
Mm-hmm.
because you see a lot more immediate feedback, and just in terms of creativity and what you can do. Of course, there's always crunch times and other pressures
absolutely,
associated with that.
yeah.
So just to provide a point of comparison, when I first started at MyTech, about 17 years or so ago, the whole software department was maybe 20 developers worldwide. In Chesterfield, there's like 12.
Right.
When I left,
Right.
worldwide, MyTech has over 100 developers, so it has grown by leaps and bounds.
Oh, absolutely.
But back then, even though I'm one of the junior developers coming in fresh grad, anything that I do have a significant impact.
Right.
I would basically
Right.
get just projects where right now you wouldn't give to a junior typical developer.
Right.
And it would be a 2-month project. It's customer retention related, and you have to do it right, and it's just a matter of getting it done.
Right.
So I kind of miss that. So kind of going back to the startup, granted, it's a very small startup still, but it's very encouraging to just kind of see the product that you made being used and having immediate feedback.
Yeah,
on
that
it.
gratification, right? From
Definitely.
being able to see what you've done
Definitely.
actually be implemented in real world stuff. And functional.
Definitely.
So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about why you're here and what your session was about.
Okay. For this year, I am delivering 2 sessions. Yesterday, I did a session on parallelism in .NET. Essentially, as you know, that computer speed has kind of hit a plateau. So the way people make things faster, Intel and AMD, they basically put more cores into the chips. I believe right now the highest one you can buy commercial, consumer-wise, is a 6 hexacore
Okay. Right.
chip. And unfortunately, most programs that people will make are usually single-threaded. So now it's a question
Right.
of, okay, if I would like to utilize most of all the cores of a chip, how can I do that? So we kind of
Right.
explore all the things that we can use to leverage the multiple cores and how to do them. Let's say, what are the pitfalls, so then you can do them right.
What are some of the pitfalls?
Well, obviously, first and foremost is always race conditions. The idea is that if you have multiple threads trying to access the same shared resource,
It's
You need-
inefficient.
no, it's not about inefficiency.
Okay.
It's more making sure that when one thread is trying to access that resource, no other thread can access it.
Okay.
Because otherwise
Okay.
you have
Now, okay.
retentions issues and contention possibilities.
Gotcha.
So that's the big number one.
Okay.
Actually, once you have taken care of that, everything else is actually pretty easy.
Okay.
However, that race condition is the hardest problem in multi-threading,
Right.
unfortunately.
Right. Okay. So what are some of the questions does it revolve around that you get from either audience members or when discussing this particular subject? Is it that the race time?
I think for the audience that I had yesterday, everybody understood enough about that's the biggest problem. The session was mostly going through the various .NET methodologies that exist for you to go through or achieving parallelism.
Okay.
So we basically kind of covers using threads, using tasks, the parallel class, parallel links, and any of the other constructs.
Now, can individuals find your presentation on maybe a blog or something that you have?
Well, during my sessions, I do put up an introduction slide with my blog, which unfortunately I've not been maintaining it as often as I could or should.
Yeah, I hear you.
But anytime I do a presentation, I would basically put a short article, and I would put my material, sample code, and presentation up there as well.
Okay, very cool. And if people, do they try to like run it while you're giving the presentation?
No, usually I do it after the fact.
Oh, gotcha.
Just wanted
So-
to make sure that nobody sees the prize before I get to deliver it.
Yeah. See, that's a very smart move. So, we were just discussing hardware and its capabilities and how moving to maybe an octa-core, the hex core, different things like that. Even with some of the scaling that we're even in enterprise, it's all about this compatibility, and we've talked about this with all the different the guests that's been on about backwards compatibility and forward thinking, right? Because you want to make sure that you're creating something that can be manipulated in such a way that can be more efficient and that can accomplish more tasks and things of that nature. Where do you see this change do you see a change in this hardware push? The spec wars, if you will, of having more cores and having more compatibility, or do you see more lighter focus on that and more focused on the software?
I would have to say, from a company perspective, both Intel and AMD, most probably they will try to continue more cores into it, but there is a point of diminishing return to some extent, because from a typical software workload, you cannot quite parallelize everything.
Right.
On the other hand, like let's say compared to about 5 years ago,
Okay.
5 years ago, every couple of years when Intel releases a new chip, everybody's pretty excited because,
Right.
hey, I can basically do things faster. That excitement has kind of died down because computers are actually fast enough now. Currently, some of the smartphones that people buy are more powerful than computers 5 years ago.
Right. Snapdragon 800, quad core,
Definitely.
and a phone. Yeah.
Something that you can hold. It actually runs the whole day, possibly, and versus one big lug desktop computer that you
Right.
have to push around all over the place in your office.
Right.
So I think there's a good equilibrium here, and I think we're kind of nearing that, where the software just needs to do good enough, and then the hardware is plenty fast.
So the developer should keep that in mind.
Yes.
Keep that forward thinking in mind when they're designing these for their businesses, for their clients, whatever the case may be is.
Definitely.
So you would definitely say that. Awesome.
Well, even let's say take one of the most hardware computing intensive operations, which is video encoding.
Okay.
5 years ago, it would be like, well, we'll encode 1 frame per second.
Okay.
Now, using laptops, we can basically do it in real time.
Right.
So I think, again, the computation performance is pretty good now. It's just making sure that the user experience and the effect of your software is more beneficial.
Right. It's not crazy difficult to do, and you get the return that
Yes.
you were looking for. Right.
Definitely.
Awesome. So where can people find you and find out more information about what you do? And
Okay. So I do still have a day job. So
Right.
as such, I do have a blog, as mentioned. My blog is on geekswithblogs.net. The blog name is New Things I Learned.
Okay.
And it's a placeholder for things that I usually kind of splunk around, research on my own. Doesn't quite match into the
I
current.
love that term, splunk around. I just do.
Thank you. So the idea is that if I learn something and, well, you know what, it's not quite relevant, I'd like to remember it somewhere, kind of push it over there.
Right.
So if people search for that, then they should find my articles.
Okay. Do you keep it up in the social medias or not so much?
I do have a Twitter account, but I'm not into this social marketing,
Right.
media marketing. I'm
Yeah.
more your typical tech nerd, geek type guy.
Right.
Anybody wants to ask me questions or just want to discuss technical stuff, brainstorm, I'm game. Somebody says, oh, by the way, can you market yourself?
I'm okay. I'd rather not.
How do I do that?
Right.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you very
And
much,
thank you
JJ.
very much for your session today. Very informative.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.